Live from the Preston Highway Studios, it's 24-hour Purple People. And now here's your host, John Harper.
Well, hello and welcome to episode 3 of 24-hour Purple People. My name is John Harper, and I'm absolutely thrilled to have you and your family and whoever's around you here for the ride today. For our episode 3, our voices are going to be a little muffly today, as our season opener was last night against Atlanta United 2, acronym United, and we took care of business, which we'll be talking about momentarily. It was cold, and we're glad to be back indoors in a warm, rather warm environment than last night was. Now, talking about last night, absolutely great game, a lot of fun, and we'll dig into that. We'll also talk about racing and the Challenge Cup starting this week, and talk about what racing's got with their first opponent, Kansas City, and make some predictions for the Challenge Cup in our second half as well, along with all sorts of other fun. So let's meet our panelists today. First off, I would like to start with the man who needs no introduction, but I'm going to give him one anyway. Mr. Glenn Grum. Glenn, that's not Glenn. Glenn, say hello.
Hello.
What do you
That's
got
me
there?
right there. Oh, I got one of our shiny stickers.
That is...
So maybe
that's
find
pretty
us
cool.
next Saturday and see if you can get yourself one of these. We have some to hand out if you're interested, and maybe some other goodies.
More goodies. Matt, do
Yeah.
you have any goodies?
My goodies are on full display at all times, always. I try to advertise those as much as possible. They're not as shiny as Glenn's goodies, but they're still pretty good. They're okay-ease. They're not greaties, you know.
Well, you know, as long as they're goodies, I think that's what
Yeah,
ultimately
they're
matters.
finies.
They're
Well,
just all righties.
Yeah, yeah. There we go.
We're excited to have each and every one of you out there tonight, and join us on the live chat momentarily as we get to our main screen. Join us on that live chat and talk to us about your experience last night and anything else you want to talk about as far as the game or anything else in the whole Purple community. Be sure to give us a shout on our chat group. Now, if you have not watched our show before, my panelists, if they are naughty, might get a yellow card. 2 yellows will get a red card. Sometimes they might get a straight red. That hasn't happened just yet on the show. But in that time, if they are to get a red card, 60 seconds, they will have to wait until they can get back into the conversation. They'll be muted, and the other panelists at that point can sing a song or play a piano, unlike what happened last night in the postgame. Nobody wants to play the piano. All right, so let us get started. Well, first off, we've got a lot going on in the community, and a lot going on at the game last night. Let me see here. Yes, here we are.
Actually, I think there you are.
Oh, here I am.
I like this version of the show better, where it's just John's
Just
head.
me? I don't.
Yeah,
All
Right?
right,
It's
there
just
we
John.
go. There we go. There we go.
Hey, there we are.
All right. Well, so let's talk about the breakdown last night of Atlanta United 2, Louisville City with their opening contest last night, and definitely a different looking lineup. They did come out in the 3-4-3, which we somewhat predicted. Glenn, I'll start with you because that 3-4-3 was something you talked about a lot, wanting to see more of that diamond formation out there on the pitch. Tell me, at least first impression-wise, what did you see from City last night?
I thought we played really well. I like the lineup. I mean, we had Morton in goal. You had Winder, Sharpie, and Dia in the back, and then you had Perez, PDP, Gibson, and Bone in the midfield, and then Ownby and Harris and Gonzalez up top. I think it's what I wanted to see. I mean, with Cam out is what I wanted to see, right? That was the lineup I was kind of looking for. I was a little surprised not to see Sean Toach start, but other than that, and I think I don't know. I think we played really well. it was a decent game. I felt like the team came out and did what they were supposed to do. I feel like we created a lot of chances. Maybe didn't capitalize on everything we created, but it was what I wanted to see from this team, and I feel like we're going to get better from there. And I feel like that's definitely a good jumping off point. We're going to get a really good idea of where we're at later on in the show when we talk about the team that's coming to town next week. But this was definitely what I wanted to see, and it gave me some positive feelings of how the season's going to go. I still feel pretty positive, even with what's going on with Cam. I think we're in good shape. So.
Absolutely. Matt, your first impressions last night in a cold environment there at Lynn Family Stadium.
So cold. So cold.
It was very cold. Tell us what you saw out there. How did you feel, first impression wise, at least, with City last night?
So let's see. There's a lot we could talk about. I'm going to piggyback off Glenn a little bit. We did create a lot of chances. We couldn't necessarily in a lot of those situations sort of make that last connect to get the ball in the back of the net, right? We didn't have like that, which is where Cam would have come in, that one killer touch that would have gotten us more than one goal. But we did create a lot of chances, and at times last year it did seem our attack could be a little flat, especially last night, especially with Serrano and Mushagalusa coming in. I think that changed the game completely. Their versatility, their creativity really helped us out, especially setting up the Wilson Harris goal. And not only that, but Kyle Morton making a big save, right?
Yep.
Putting us in a position to get that win. So all the things you want to see, we saw. Just couldn't exactly put it in the back of the net as many times maybe as we liked. But it's a win. It's a win. The win's a win.
Matt, how do you
their
think
keeper kind of stood on his head too?
Mm-hmm. Matt,
Reyes played out of his mind.
How do you think, Matt, they looked out there in this formation? Obviously, something they tried in the preseason and a lot of experimentation, something new for City. How do you think they adapted in the early going?
I think they played well. It did seem like they in the midfield we had a couple guys drop back and pushed another couple guys up for that press. So I think that worked really well. I think that it gives us a level of versatility I think that we haven't necessarily had in years past. And I think with the type of ball that we play, like we play with a lot of possession, although I think it was about 50-50 split last night. We usually play with a lot of possession. So that usually means you get left open to counters, but we now have some speed in the back there, especially with Winder, where you can make those runs back and at least challenge on those counters. So I liked a lot of what I saw last night, a lot of it.
We definitely saw some newcomers make a immediate impression. Of just the new players, Glenn, on the team, just the new players, who were you most impressed by?
I was really impressed with Perez. I thought he played really well. I mean, obviously Harris scoring his first goal with us is amazing, but I felt like Perez in the midfield did a really good job last night. He played really well, and I found myself quite a few times like trying to figure out who number 15 was because I don't have everyone's number memorized yet. So I was going through and I was watching it back on the feed, trying to figure out who he was, and followed him around. I think he did really well. And I also was excited to see Galusa and Mushagalusa make the field and Serrano, and they connected, by the way, for the goal. So that's three of your new signees that got together to score that goal that led us to victory. So,
absolutely, I think that was one of the best things to see. Matt, you hit on Kyle Morton, who, of course, was your season MVP pick for Louisville City. Anybody else of these newcomers stick out to you last night?
Maybe not newcomers, but I do think I think Perez played really well. We saw a lot of Corbin Bone last night. He was all over the pitch. He took our corners and our set pieces. Is that new? Have you guys noticed that before?
I hadn't.
No, apparently not. Okay, John has. Yeah, I guess that's new. It was okay. So off some of those set pieces, but I mean,
Do
you
you
need
think they
some
were
room
looking for
for
something
improvement, right?
specific on the near post in the corner? Because there were a
It
lot
seemed
of
to be
near post
going.
corners.
They seem to be going there a lot.
But do you think that's a scouting thing that Danny had scouted and found something that maybe there's a weakness there? Because it felt like a lot of those corners were near post, and it felt like that was last year. We took a lot of near post corners as well, and I don't know if there's something like maybe he sees a weakness there. I don't know, but like it seemed like an odd
Very
thing
possible. Yeah,
We almost found the net on a near post lob, but they were able to clear it out. And credit to Reyes again, who played a great game.
Yeah, we
I mean, fuck him, but great game.
we obviously played a lot of our typical ball. I think we had 23 shots, 7 on goal, which not the best, but compared to Atlanta
The greatest
United,
percentage wise, but it's still pretty good.
right. Neither of you said Joshua Winder, which I'm going to go ahead and give you both yellows for not saying Joshua Winder. You're welcome for that.
You said newcomer.
Well, that's true, but
He's a stalwart. He's a veteran.
yeah, right.
How is that guy 16? Like he's huge
Right?
out there.
Yes,
That's
he
a
is.
man. He's playing man
He
ball.
is. He is.
Yeah, he definitely had a really physical aspect to his game and played really
Yeah.
well. And I mean, if he's not your man of the match, I don't know who is, right? Like that guy played out of his mind. Like
On the one hand, I became convinced last night, like, oh, we're losing this kid, aren't we? Like this guy's gonna fly on to I guess higher levels and greener pastures, and that's fine. But we're just gonna have to enjoy him while he's here, because yeah, there's definitely a physical aspect to his game that I really like.
Yeah, he definitely.
Also, he shouldn't have gotten that card. That was a clean tackle.
agreed. That was definitely not a yellow.
Yeah, I think he definitely impressed a lot of people last night. Playing in an environment that was not optimal. 25 degrees at the start of the game. Wind chill had to be in the mid-teens. Wind was blowing constantly. Banners flapping around like sails. Do you guys recall a more, a least pleasant environment in Louisville City history? Can you recall a game that was as brutal as last night was for the supporters? Wow.
We've had some cold games. Is that the coldest game we've ever played?
I would say it
Did
is.
somebody look that up? Look it up, John. You have to look it up because I told you to.
Okay.
What about
I
that
enjoy
match we
games
played
like
in
that.
like the cold rain? We played like an
Yeah.
opening match in the cold rain a couple years ago, where like the rain started out as rain and it turned to snow in the middle of the game, and they had to stop because the field was like we've had some pretty crazy environmental issues. Like we had the game with Cincinnati where they had to stop playing because the pitch was soaked.
Right.
We had the game that had to be postponed for the Hurricane against Birmingham, where they played the next morning on a Sunday morning. And that was pretty darn chilly.
There was one match that we tailgated for, but then got canceled, and I think that was the most intense. I can't recall who we were playing that week,
Birmingham.
but was it Birmingham? That was intense. That was we were all huddled together, intense. It was intense.
Yeah,
But it was cold last night, man. I mean, no doubt about it.
I'm glad you said tailgate. So hats off to Doug and the tailgaters. They had that thing insulated, heaters going. I mean, when you were inside those tents yesterday, it felt great. It was I just couldn't believe how it felt. It was amazing. Then you took 3 steps outside and you were like, oh god, and you wanted to go right back in. So it was
Huge mistake.
pretty rough, but nevertheless 8,300 plus paid attendance last night. It was still a pretty good
Paid.
turnout. A very good turnout, I think, overall. And
What would you say was the actual attendance of that game?
6.
2,000 maybe? 2,500?
no,
I think it's
not
more
that
like
low.
6,000.
Not
Really?
that low.
Yeah.
I'd say so.
The
Yeah,
stands were surprisingly full, and the section was really full too, which
and really loud.
I always like to see.
Really
Yes, very
loud.
loud.
So that was very
They
good.
did a great job last night. To all the supporters that were singing along,
Absolutely.
great job. Good to hear all your voices again. We definitely missed all that, and excited to get back out there in another 7 days. To do
Yeah,
this all
baby.
again, right?
Yep.
And it won't. It's going to be
Absolutely.
55.
Yeah, a balmy
And raining.
Yeah, it's going to be great. Moving right along, let's talk about that game coming up. As Glenn said, little rainy, but in the 50s. So a heat wave coming to Louisville next weekend as Miami FC takes on Louisville City at Lynn Family Stadium next Saturday at 7:30. Matt, I'll start with you. When you look at Miami, we've joked before, this is kind of like Louisville City too. A lot of familiar faces on Miami. Uh, a team that made it to the playoffs last season, that we met in the playoffs last season, a very solid team. Matt, what do you see from Miami this season?
Well, in addition to those familiar faces that you mentioned, they also added both Kyle Murphy and Mark Segbers, who are two excellent players, both from Memphis last year. If we don't play, we need to find the net. We need to have that finishing touch a lot better than we did against ATL going up against Miami. We're going to need to put a couple goals on the board. I think this might be the game where our clean sheet streak of one is broken. But we should see Paco. He's been getting minutes, as well as Speedy. I'm not sure about Richard Ballard. I'm not sure if he played last night.
Yeah,
Paco actually scored on a header, but it was called back for offsides, so he's getting in the mix, which is always fun. Are you guys looking forward to seeing some of the old folks?
I know I am.
Old folks.
Glenn, when you look at Miami, they took care of business 2-0 yesterday against New York Red Bull 2. Easy for me to say.
Yes.
Glenn, when you take a look at Miami and you see this team, obviously, like I said, some people we know and some people we don't. Talk about Miami for me, Glenn.
Yeah, I think that just going off with last night, they came out and played in a 4-2-3-1 according to the USL website against the Red Bulls. Paco and Speedy both started that game, and they defeated the Red Bulls 2-0. There was an early goal and then a late goal. They only possessed the ball 40% of the time, so they're going to allow us to possess the ball, I would imagine. They also only took 8 shots. So that's not a lot of shots to score 2 goals. So they're definitely going to try to attack us on the counter, which, had been an area that we struggled with. But I think last night against Atlanta, granted, Atlanta's a different team, right? Not maybe as potent on the attack. But I feel like we played fairly well against their counters. And when they did get the opportunity, Morton stood tall on the one really big chance they had. So I feel like we have the ability to counteract their counterattack, maybe. And we have the pieces in place that maybe that this won't be as difficult for us. I definitely agree with Matt. We're going to have to score more than one, I think, to get 3 points from this match. I don't see it being a game where we can put one in and then hold on. It's going to be 2 or 3 goals, I think, and it's going to be probably 1 goal victory either way. So
countering the counter. Matt, tell me about some of the strategy you would go up against with Miami.
What would I do? I don't know, slash their tires, make sure they don't make it to the game. I mean, I'm not a soccer player though, but if I was a soccer player, I would continue to do what we are good at, which is bomb down those channels, lob in, and see what we can put up in the fracas. I think we'll be okay against Miami, but I think, as Glenn pointed out, our new counter defense is going to get tested for sure. So if we can hold that together, I think we can come out of this with 3 points.
Might be another good opportunity for Kyle Morton to show what he is made of, and I know that a good Kyle Morton chant last night during the game gave the Coopers a big thumbs up. So initially very much liked, and somebody that we're all looking forward to seeing how he plays. And it's going to be very interesting next weekend against Miami. And they played a very chippy game in the postseason, and Miami might be looking for some revenge. So we cannot sell them short at all. Speaking of short,
what do you guys think about as a nickname for Morton? Wait for it. The Pillar of Salt, huh? Is that a good nickname?
It's pretty
I
good.
Is
like
that
it.
good?
It's pretty
Do you think
good.
that everyone gets the Morton Salt reference though? Like, I feel
Well, we
like
keep
that.
hammering it home, so they're gonna figure it out at some point.
One point or another. Well, moving on. So, in the very last game of the preseason up against St. Louis, the NXT edition, Cam was injured in that game, which Coach Cruz described as a lengthy injury. Cam out of this first game and seemingly out for a good long while. Cam is obviously one of our top players, top scorers. Glenn, when you hear the news, your reaction to this news about Cam that broke, I believe, the day after our last episode.
Sure did. Yeah, so my first reaction was like, man, what are we gonna do? Because I'm sure that the team was prepared for Cam to be that starting striker, right? Like he's our center forward. So there's that concern, what are you gonna do and how are you gonna adjust? I felt like it was clear the team had practiced with Cam being the starter, but I felt like Harris did a great job and stepped up and played really well in that position. I feel like there's some maybe timing's a little bit off. That's going to be something that probably will adjust on that practice field because I feel like there were a lot of chances where it was just, the pass was just a little off. But seeing Mushagalusa and Serrano come on at the end and how well they played and with Gonzalez, like the youthful attack, like at the end of that game, I felt like we were running at full speed, right? Like, and Atlanta clearly was a little gassed. And I felt like we were definitely creating chances still near the end of that match with that, those young legs in there and attacking them. And I feel like that very well could have been a 4-5 goal game. And I feel like once they get all the pieces together, I think this is going to be a great team and we're going to put a lot of goals in the back of the net. So I'm pretty excited. I definitely miss Cam, but I feel like we have the young pieces in place to, move forward. So.
No, absolutely. And Wilson Harris obviously came out and took on that role. Matt, when you saw Cam was out to this lengthy injury, how do you think the team is going to adjust, and just how many games or possible scenarios could this affect for Louisville City?
Well, I mean, it's a big hole, right? Cam is not only one of the most accomplished and prolific strikers in team history, but like in league history, right? And I got to assume that a lot of game planning was around Cam. He's our most potent weapon. And to lose somebody like that for this significant amount of time, it's going to take some adjustment. But Cam has missed significant portions of time before, right? And we've had to adjust. It's unfortunate, but it's something that we've had to deal with in the past. But I think that we are loaded up with a lot more depth than we have been in previous years. And I think we're a little more equipped to handle that. And you saw that again with Wilson Harris with not much space, really putting one on frame and putting it back there. Everybody talks as if he's the heir apparent. So now's the time. If he can step up, we can have a really great season.
That's a good point you brought up, Matt. Like, he has some big shoes to fill. But if you're looking down the line, Glenn, do you think that Wilson Harris could potentially be, and we talked about last week that we wish Cam would play another 15 years, but he's probably not going to. So do you think Wilson Harris, probably, but Wilson Harris could possibly be that replacement one day?
I think there's a good possibility. I actually think that what Cruz has done, or what my opinion of what he's done, is he's brought in some young guys to kind of take over and move forward, right? Because, we do have guys on the team that are a little bit older and they're reaching, that point in their career where, if they've lost a step or they do have injury issues. I feel like you have Harris, you have Gonzalez, Serrano, Galusa, Mushagalusa, they brought in like such a young group of guys as forwards. And I think they've done a really good job at bringing in the next batch. And I think they brought them in to kind of learn from guys like Ownby, Cam, Corbin Bone, all these players who've been with the team for a while that have really experienced the USL and know how the league works. And I think to me, it feels like they're trying to create the players that they're going to pass the torch to at this time. Granted, I think Harris maybe got the torch a little sooner than we would have wanted, but I feel like he played really well last night. I don't have any complaints about anything. Like I said, there were some little bit of timing things I felt like were a little bit off. But other than that, I feel like once they get everything together and they've practiced more as him as the first team striker, I think we're going to be in good shape. And I feel like that we have built a team for the future. I know that people are going to be bummed out, because eventually, PDP, Bone, Ownby, those guys are going to eventually move on to the next phase, right? Possibly coaching or whatever the next phase for them would be in soccer. And we're going to need some young, talented players. And from what I saw last night, I think this might be the batch of young, talented players we needed and will help us be successful in the future.
Yeah, it's weird because this is an exciting time and also a bit of a scary time with Cam being out. So only time will tell. And next Saturday will be test number 2, game number 2 against Miami FC. We hope we get to see everybody once again at Lynn Family Stadium. Really a lot of fun last night. And speaking of last night, moving on to our next subject as we wrap up the first half. This one's kind of a fun one. So during the week, Louisville City put a post out through their website about some changes at Lynn Family Stadium this season. Unfortunately, the weather last night kind of hampered a few of those things. Does anybody know if the beer garden actually went on or whatever? I have no idea. I'm not a big White Claw drinker.
Did you notice the prices at the beer garden?
Yeah, that's
talk about that maybe. My God,
Ooh.
That's another big topic of today. But
nevertheless,
one of the new things was a chant that was going to be kind of played on the board where the supporters could kind of sing along a call and response. Okay. So I know that it kind of ruffled some feathers around the community. I'm not going to ask any specific questions. I'm just going to kind of go through my panelists. Since Glenn's really wanting to say something, I'm going to start with Matt. So Matt, with with this call and response situation, what's your take on it? I said I wasn't going to ask any questions. Just start talking.
I should probably have stronger feelings about this, right? And I know that Glenn has very strong feelings about it. He's called me plastic in our group chat multiple times this week, multiple times. But I feel like if you want to advent something like that on your video board, I think the chant we're talking about is a Lou City chant, right? They just want to get the whole stadium going with that, right?
Mm-hmm.
As long as it doesn't displace like any other traditions, I don't have a problem with it. I think that's the biggest area of concern for a lot of people is the timing of it, right? We have we do things a certain way at this point. We've been doing this for a long time, right? We have traditions that we started years ago, and people don't want to see those displaced, and I get it. I really do understand. But it doesn't bother me necessarily. Like maybe it should. I don't know. Maybe I'm old man now. I'm mellow.
This is so much fun. I'm gonna start talking for a while just because I can tell Glenn is just like he is just cannot sit still right now. So let me just say, well, first off, the chant didn't really actually come to be.
Did they do it last night?
Well, I don't think it was actually on the scoreboard the first time. Now at the beginning of the second half it was. But by that point, I think it was kind of like a little bit forgotten about maybe. I don't know. But all right, Glenn, lay it on us, brother.
So my opinion is that, the chants and the cheers should come from the supporters, right? Like the front office shouldn't be creating the traditions. They can help us, maintain them and keep them going. But I don't feel like a forced tradition is necessarily what we need. I also personally, I'm not sure why White Claw is the name of our beer garden. Like, we have so many great breweries in Louisville. White Claw was sure, they have lots of money, but I would feel like you want to be part of our community, right? Like, and part of the community in Louisville, right? Like, because that's what the team is trying to do. And granted, I'm sure that White Claw has a lot more disposable income, but shoot, like just in Butchertown, right? You have Against the Grain, you have 1020. If you go a little bit further out, you have Monic. You have there's so many great breweries in this. There's Akasha in Butchertown as well, or I guess that's technically Nulu, but whatever. But there's so many great breweries that are part of. Yeah, it's around the corner. You can walk there.
Yeah, it's close.
Anyway, I just don't understand. I guess why they wouldn't choose something local and something that's part of the community, especially with a team. I mean, you had 2 years basically where the only people that came to matches were diehard fans, right? Like, because there was a lot of stuff going on. And I feel like being involved in the community is going to help you, because you're going to help get other people who are involved in the community, especially when you go to like a local brewery, right? Because all those people, they live and work in Louisville, and get them to become part of your community and part of your tradition, and then grow from there.
Okay,
I understand that White Claw
chant
is a
is
huge
the
corporation.
topic is called chant. Okay, we're not talking about breweries. It's called chant. This you were flipping and flopping around, and now we get brewery talk. I need to hear about the chant. Damn it! Now let me just say this. Before I call it back to Glenn, I don't think it would have been that big of a problem, or anybody would have taken issue if it would have been like the 15th minute. I don't think starting the game with that chant. I've always wanted to do a call and response like that. First off, okay, we were told back at Slugger it didn't work because of acoustics. Obviously, that's not an issue at Lynn Family Stadium. Okay, yes, there's an open end, but you're talking about a chant that, in theory, the Cooper section says Lou, and the rest of the stadium says City. Okay, now, Start Wearing Purple has been the first song every season for a long time, and I think that is a tradition for us, and that's why I was like, I don't really want it to start the game, but I still like the idea. I don't mind it being on the board. I just rather it that been a thing that may have been that the supporters came up with and pitched to the team. Then the team gets involved with putting something on the screen at that point. To your point, Glenn, earlier. Also want to point out, Matt did say on the chat, Matt Owens, hello Matt, said White Claw was a last minute choice. So nevertheless, Glenn,
White Claws usually are a last minute choice, aren't they?
I was gonna say that's White Claw's always a last minute choice, right?
It's when the Zimas run out. So Glenn,
right, exactly.
Glenn, tell me about that. But as far as the chant itself, you're not a big call and response person, right?
I don't mind call and response. I just think it has to be organic and created by the supporters personally. Like, that's my opinion. Everybody supports differently, right? Like, and that's fine if that's what you want as a call and response that the club has given you and makes you do. That's cool if that's what you want. I think that if it's something that's organic that came from, the supporters, if like the Coopers and Scouts got together and they're like, hey man, we want to do Lou City as a call and response chant and we want your help doing it, I'm fine with that. When the club says, we're going to do this chant and you're going to do it, that's my issue. The club shouldn't be creating traditions. The supporters should. So
they didn't exactly say that.
They held a gun to his head, John. I saw it.
They did.
It was a gun. It was a loaded gun.
Didn't.
Well, let's just wrap up this conversation with saying that regardless of what was sung last night, the supporters were amazing. The Groove Machine was amazing. It felt like a bigger crowd.
Mid-season form.
Yeah, and exactly. And under the circumstances of it being incredibly cold, it was a very fun environment at Lynn Family Stadium. And that about wraps up our first half. Now, when we come back, we're going to have a lot of racing talk, as racing is our next purple team, Lavender, to be watching here in DeVille. When our second half starts, we'll be talking about racing, the Challenge Cup, and more. Stick around. You do not want to miss it. Halftime, hog time!
I'm Glenn Grunder, and you are listening to 24 Hour Purple People. And now, a word from our sponsors.
Are you tired of having your property seized by the authorities? Try Maddie's Mule Service. Maddie's Mule Service, guaranteed to get anything you want into the country. We only get paid if your product makes it to your destination safely. Try Maddie's Mule Service. Call us at 555-555-5555. That's Maddie's Mule Service. We'll get anything from point A to point B without getting caught.
24 Hour Purple People are not affiliated with Maggie's Mule Service. Call Maggie's Mule Service today. That's Maggie's Mule Service, 555-555-555-555-555.
Hello, and we are back. It's time for half number 2 as we get this show back on the road. But let me tell you who is not going to be on the road. That's going to be, oh, hey, you're not on red anymore. That's going to be racing this Friday. So let me change it to this little.
Wait, how am I still on a yellow?
Well, okay, fine. I'll take you off that one. Sorry. These panelists, it's like constant
VAR.
constant argument with the ref.
I think you should give him a yellow now for dissension.
So
Probably.
we're facing Friday evening at Lynn Family Stadium, Kansas City. Kansas City kind of has a new look this year, more ways than one. Glenn, when you look at Kansas City and our opening round challengers, which we faced last year in the opening round as well, what do you see from this team in Kansas City?
I mean, they're a rebuilt team. They kind of went through a similar situation that we did, right? They brought in a new coach, some new players, and they're definitely looking to have a better performance than they did last season. They did finish in 10th place with only 16 points in the regular season last season. So I'm sure that they're going to be ready to play. They've signed some decent additions. I know that Lynn Williams is there, and she's a 3-time NWSL champion, and as she's the second all-time goal scorer, I believe, as well. So they've added some decent pieces, some attacking pieces to the team, and they definitely, I think that they plan to try and take the cup. I think that we've done a little bit better on our end, I feel, and I feel like this might be something a match we can definitely win and take advantage of, and start the season off right and start it in the right direction with our new look. So
it always counts how you start the season and that energy that is needed at the beginning of the season. Matt, what are you looking for racing to do on Friday night to take care of business in this opening round?
Well, Glenn's right in that we were in a very similar situation with KC, right? They're just kind of a little bit worse than us, which is fantastic. But both teams have kind of reloaded. They've got new coaching staffs in, and they're both going to really want to make an impression at Friday night. They're both going to really want those three points, right? There's the element of whether or not this is sort of like a soft opening, right? Since this is technically preseason, right? But I think that we're going to see. I think we can pull out a win. I think we're going to see 3 points. I'm just going to go ahead and predict it right now.
All right. Well, Glenn, when you look at Kansas City's style last season, what are their main threats? What do you feel like is what racing's really going to have to keep an eye on overall?
I mean, they're completely different from last season, right? They have a new coach in Matt Potter. So I think they're going to be a different team altogether. I think we're going to get a new look. So I think it's a little bit of an unknown for us. So I do, like I said, they did add a new striker in Lynn Williams. They did retain Sam Mewis as well in the midfield. So I think that there's some threats there and some danger from those players. But we're not. I don't think we're 100% sure what we're going to see from a team that's got a new coach and similar to us. What we're going to see out of racing as well. We're going to get kind of a sneak peek at what these teams plan to do in the regular season when we eventually get a schedule.
And we'll be talking about the schedule a little bit later. Still waiting right now, actually. Yeah, Kansas City, opening last season with them in the Challenge Cup. And this Challenge Cup is an interesting format, kind of a season before the season, something that was initially, I think, brought up out of COVID restrictions and trying to put some sort of play on the field for the NWSL. And it's going to be good. It's going to be a good test for racing. I'm really excited to see racing. Love watching them live at Lynn Family Stadium, and I'm excited to see our new head coach, which apparently is a huge mountain among men. So
the mastodon that is Kim Bjorkegård.
Yeah, so I'm excited about that as well. So it's going to be fun. I'm looking forward to it. What's the weather like Friday night? I need like a meteorologist correspondent. I feel like
we're looking. I think it's going to be mid-60s, but I also think there's a possibility of rain.
Yeah,
so,
bigger rain chance on
rain.
Friday night. Yeah. So we'll take anything over that cold. it can rain all day, whatever.
Yeah, it could always be worse.
Well, we did a lot of
John, if you eat a
predictions.
sandwich, you'd be okay with the cold weather.
We did a lot of predictions last week. We're going to do some predictions this week. A cup full of predictions. So looking at this Challenge Cup, the way it's set up is a very, you got groups and all this kind of stuff. Glenn, when you look at the Challenge Cup this year, some interesting matchups. Interesting matchups are coming all over the league, all over the NWSL. Give me some of your predictions with this Challenge Cup. Who do you see doing well? Where's racing going to end up?
So I mean, just looking at the groups, right? You have the Central, which we're involved in. That's going to have your Chicago Red Stars, Houston Dash, and the Kansas City Current. I feel like that's a really tough. Chicago's going to be a tough team to knock off. So I feel like they're going to be the winner of that group. But I feel like Racing is going to gather enough points to be the runner-up because there are 4 teams that will advance. There's going to be the 3 winners of the groups and then 1 runner-up. And I feel like Racing is in a great position in this group to be that runner-up and score enough points. And all we would really need, I feel like if we can take a draw maybe off of the Red Stars at least one time, I think we can be in a really good position to be that runner-up. In the East, you have Gotham FC, you have the North Carolina Courage, Orlando Pride, and the Washington Spirit. I feel like that group is just a pick-em. Like, there's so much talent there.
Yes.
I was going to go with Washington.
Man.
Yeah. I'm going to go with Washington as my pick from that group. And then when you go out west, you have Angel City FC, the expansion team, as well as the San Diego Waves. And then you have OL Reign and the Portland Thorns. I'm going to pick my pick would be Portland. I mean, they're a good team, and I feel like they're going to continue to be good. So,
real quick, Matt Owen says the Challenge Cup winners will finally get to know the schedule. They hold it up. Yeah.
Is that what it comes?
Only
so
the
it's
winners.
in the cup. So the schedule's in the actual cup.
Yeah,
Is that
they
what
just have to
Matt's
reach
saying?
in there.
Yeah, it's balled up and shoved in the bottom of the cup. They've tamped it down in there.
Thank you for that, Matt. And on to the next, Matt. When you look at the Challenge Cup, these groups, as you said, Murderers Row in the East. So when you give us some of your predictions with this year's Challenge Cup.
Well, out in the East, I mean, it's hard to pick against the defending champs, right? So I'm also going to go with Washington to win their group. But again, I'm just be glad that we didn't end up in that group. The group out west is it's going to be a toss-up between the Reign and Thorns, I think, but I am going to go with OL Reign. And I think they're going to win the cup overall. That's my pick. Jumping ahead of myself a little bit. But Chicago, I also think Chicago is going to win our group. I would think that, and I know I'm being a bad homer, but that runner-up from with the most accrued points, I'm going to go with Portland out of the group out west.
Interesting.
So sorry, Racing, but
no, that's okay.
Gotta go with my heart.
It's good to be honest. Good to be honest. Yeah, it's going to be interesting. It's obviously an early test for this new regime here in Louisville for the women's side, and I'm very excited about it. I'm really looking forward to seeing racing in action, and that'll be this Friday at Lynn Family Stadium here in Louisville. Speaking of the schedule, which we were momentarily, where is it? Nobody knows, and at this point, everybody's kind of getting a little fed up with it. Last season, it was pretty late arriving. Glenn, what's going on with the schedule? To give us some inside information, when did it come out last season anyway?
I believe someone on Twitter said that the schedule was pretty late last year, somewhere around April 23rd is what I saw from somebody on Twitter. I'm not sure how accurate that information is because it is, after all, Twitter. But I feel like it has to come later on in the season, after the Challenge Cup or near the end of the Challenge Cup, because you got to figure out, teams that are going to play more matches and figure out when you're going to schedule those games. My hope is that they've already got an idea of what that schedule is going to look like, right? Because we know the format this year is going to be one home, one away for each team, right? So you have an idea of who you're playing already. You just don't know when. So,
right. I think the biggest struggle, or the biggest problem with this schedule issue is you can't really plan any major things. Vacations, maybe away games for racing. Matt, what's up with the schedule?
I mean, it has to be done, right? Like, have they've blocked this out already? I think that Glenn's right. I don't think if we didn't see it before the Challenge Cup, they're going to wait until after, or at least very deep into the Challenge Cup to release the schedule. But I think they might also be leaning into the meme at this point. And just sort of, I have heard rumor and innuendo that maybe they're leaning into this to sort of generate more buzz. I don't know if that's going on. I don't know.
Controversy creates cash, right?
Yeah.
That's I never thought about paid? That. It could very well be the case.
I don't think that's the case, but it could be.
Yeah. They're just laughing.
I think it has to do more with the Challenge Cup. I feel like it has to be somehow tied to the Challenge Cup, because why else would they wait, right? Because we know, like I said, we know the format. We know what it's going to look like. Each team is going to play each team home and away. So we have an idea, and we know the open dates at Lynn, right? Like based on, the scheduling preferences, we know what's available for the dates at Lynn, so that which days they'd be Saturdays, which day they could play on Sundays or Fridays. So we have a good idea already with the USL schedule being released of where they could schedule the games for at least racing. So
racing has a lot of Friday games too.
Yeah, I would imagine
I love the weekend doubleheaders. Those are great. Go ahead, Glenn.
It has to do with the Challenge Cup. It's the only reason they're delaying it, right? There's nothing else, no other logical reason, at least, unless they are like trying to create a buzz and make some money off that meme.
Yeah, May 7th being the championship. May 7th being the championship game, and you got to think that they'll go right into the season. Maybe Matt Owens is right that they'll just release the schedule when that cup is raised by a team. I don't know. It seems to be taking a while. We were kind of looking out, maybe thinking about taking a vacation this summer and maybe going to see them play, but we're not really sure where to go at this point. We could go someplace for some Challenge Cup games, but I'd rather just really go to some league games. But we'll see. I am excited about the Friday night and the Saturday of the doubleheader. Hats off to the grounds crew at Lynn. There's going to be getting heavy beating here in the early going of the season. Not to mention we went from, we had nice weather for a couple of days, back to, rainy, then really cold and snow on the field overnight Friday night. So a lot going on, but really looking forward to seeing what racing brings to the table this Friday in this new look and new regime for racing. Cannot wait for the Challenge Cup. So we'll see you there. Now we are going to switch gears just a tad and talk about a few other random things surrounding Lynn Family Stadium, both literally and whatever.
Figuratively.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to say. So Tiger by the Tail, as we wanted to kind of talk about some of our experiences around Lynn Family Stadium. Yesterday, I spent a good while at the tailgate, and then we decided to go check out the new ATG establishment, the Rolling Tiger, which we arrived at shortly after they opened. And when we went to the Rolling Tiger, cool sticker. I really liked the atmosphere of that place. It was fun. Matt, you arrived at the Rolling Tiger shortly after we did. What did you think of the place?
It's so if anybody has been to to Odeon, it's the same building. It really looked like they hadn't changed a whole lot from Odeon, and I really dug the atmosphere. Kind of low lights in there. They've got a lot of vintage furniture. It feels cozy to me. We had Cooper's board meetings at Odeon a couple years ago. They got a lot of nooks and crannies that are really comfy. It's a great place to get a beer, and it's ATG, so you're going to get a great beer list. I had a tugboat thing last night, several of them, and they were good.
Adam's beer.
I had the Dragon tugboat. How do you forget that?
Yeah. It feels appropriate. It feels like a home already, sort of. I remember some of my fondest memories at Slugger were the drinks after at ATG. And I don't know. It just feels right to be able to celebrate a win at an ATG establishment. I don't know.
Glenn, what did you think of the Whirling Tiger? I know we ended up going there after the game for a pint. What'd you think of it? I enjoyed it.
Oh, I thought it was a great place. I definitely it's basically the Odeon but with better beer now. They have the ATG beer and actually better cocktails as well. They made a great cocktail. I had a couple of their cocktails. They were really well made. They also made us something called a green tea shot, which I highly recommend if you go in there and ask for a green tea shot. That was pretty awesome. It is definitely a very cozy place. Great place to go and celebrate a victory and have a decent beer or a decent drink. And kind of it's close to the stadium. Maybe walk off some of that the beer you had at the stadium to drink that celebratory pint, right? And,
Celebratory.
or
Absolutely. Absolutely. You know, I think one thing that we kind of talked about doing was kind of checking out places around, talking about them, you know, some free plugs for those businesses. But, you know, obviously we want to see all the places be successful around Lynn Family Stadium. The area is still developing. Here recently, something was kind of trending with Lou City is talking about those early development graphics they had. If there was going to be this hotel and all this stuff around Lynn Family Stadium, and obviously that is not
Complex.
a complex. A lot of that has not come to tuition, but it's still really early. But the walk there was easy. It was just for your information, it was a 7-minute walk from the tailgate. I actually used my little Google machine to find that out, and very swag, very swag environment. I liked it. It was fun. When we got there before the game, it was only a handful of 6 or 7 people there total, which was cool because it was, you know, a little bit more intimate, you know. I also would like to point out that the bathroom doors are like curtains, and every time I got to go through there, I pretended like I was coming out on the Ed Sullivan Show. It was great. It's like, and then it's like, why am I talking about Ed Sullivan? Dating myself for a show that wasn't even, that was
I was gonna say
born
that show
way
was
after.
already
This was
off the air
old when you
by
were
the
a
time
child.
born.
Yeah. They don't film Elvis from the waist down. So, but I did have a good time there. That green tea shot you were referring to, Glenn, does not have green tea in it. It's just fun fact.
Does not.
And
I think that was the first time I've ever had peach schnapps, so I approve. It was pretty good.
yeah. How did you
And
approve?
Jameson.
How did you approve at 10 a.m.?
Unconsciously. Yeah, that's what I was at 10 a.m. I'm still really conscious now.
Does
to be honest
anybody
with
get
you.
up at 10 a.m. after a match day? I'm just curious if that's like a thing. Do other people get up? Because usually, like you need a little recovery time. You take a little bit extra time in bed, maybe take a longer shower.
I didn't
kinda-
exactly spring forward this morning. It was more of a
No.
stumble downward, I guess. So,
Yeah.
no, felt fine.
I fell backwards.
Voice is doing better now. That's for sure. So,
Sipping that tea, huh?
all right, yeah, sipping that tea. Got the old tears of my enemies. All right, that's Miami and Kansas City. All right, so yeah, I really enjoyed it. Matt would like to tell us. Matt Owens says the floor couch is still there.
Yeah, floor couch.
Heck yeah.
Floor couch. All right, let's move on. We were going to wrap up today. Oh, I also want to point out, Linda said that you were the coolest person on the broadcast last night, Glenn. I think that was referring to your
Dude, they were
tank
obsessed
top.
with you.
Oh, yes. The
Obsessed with you.
the British
Wait, is
commentator.
vest
We-
is
we-
vest British language for a tank top? Because I was definitely wearing a tank top. But
Yes,
I mean,
yes.
it was clearly a tank top.
Yes.
So I didn't know if that was like the British slang for a tank top is vest. I was
What
really
was-
lost.
What was funny is at one point I was still wearing my coat over my kit and everything, and I had like 4 layers on and Katie's yoga pants under my jeans, and like I took my jacket off because I was like, oh, I'm getting crazy. I'm gonna take my Columbia jacket off, and Glenn's next to me in his tank top. It's like, yeah. So yeah, it was really cold. It was really cold. All right. So moving right along, we want to kind of touch on something. And first off, I want to say before we get to this subject that what a charitable community the Purple family is. The amount of charity work through Lou City Ladies, the Coopers, Scouse's House, all the supporters groups come together, do lots of really cool stuff in the community. Lou City Ladies and some of the supporter groups come together and even have greeting gift boxes for new players and just do so much outreach, charitable things, and just so many great things here in the Purple Kingdom of Louisville. Glenn, I know that we tweeted today a special charity. We thought maybe we'd give you the floor for a minute. I promise I will not give you any cards during this time period. And let you tell us a little bit about a new charity.
Yeah, so if everybody knows, I don't know if you've met Dwayne probably at a tailgate, or he's one of the drummers.
Great
Dwayne
guy.
Villanova. He's a very nice guy, awesome person. So his daughter Morgan, when she was a few weeks after turning 5 years old, was diagnosed with a stage 2 Wilms tumor, and so they're doing a charity event for St. Baldrick's. He's going to shave his head, which I don't know why anybody would ever shave their head, but Dwayne is going to shave his head for charity. On the website, we put up the link where you can go and donate for that charity at St. Baldrick's.
Mm-hmm.
It's a great cause. Like I said, it's before the Louisville Indy match on the 26th of March. So make sure, if you click that link, you get that donation in for them. Their goal right now is at $1,000, but I think that, maybe we can give them 2 if we try hard and everybody shares that link. If you know somebody else who could donate, let's get it out there and let's see if we can't get them past their goal and see if we can't help them. I mean, fight childhood cancer. Like, that's definitely something we can all get behind, and it's an easy link. You click the link, you can make a donation. It's real simple to do. And I would appreciate it, if you're listening to this or you can hear my voice, if you wouldn't mind at least considering giving a couple of bucks if you can spare it, and donate to this charity for the Purple family and for, people that we know that are part of our community that have been involved in the soccer community for years. So, I mean, it's not, we're donating to help one of our own, right? So
yeah, absolutely.
I feel like it's important that we try to.
Very touching story by Dwayne on that link that you can read. And Matt, I know that every family in one way or another is touched by cancer, a horrible disease, and you really hate to see it in kids. A great cause, isn't it?
Absolutely. And Dwayne's a great guy. I don't know if Dwayne's watching, but it's just I am blown away perpetually by like all of the giving and all the charity that we're able to generate just with like this weird hooligan soccer thing that we do. I know at my time with the Coopers, Angel Share was like something that I was really proud of. And this is something that, like Glenn said, I think everybody can get behind this, right? I mean, nobody wants to go through the things that they're going through, but I think if you can spare it, maybe, just give. Yeah, that's it. Just give. I mean, do what you can when you can, right? I mean, make the world a little bit of a better place.
Yeah,
we're all stuck here until we're dead, right? So might as well make it nice for the people next to you, right?
And Dwayne's daughter beat the cancer and everything, but like very little goes to research for childhood cancer. Like he said something less than 2% of the money that's donated for research goes to children's cancer. So really, like, I mean, if you can spare it, like, let's help the children and try to help people beat a disease that, I mean, it's definitely impacted almost everyone you know's life. Like, I'm sure that almost everybody out there who's watching or listening has had somebody who's been affected by cancer, and and definitely to hear that such a small amount of the money for research goes to childhood cancer is just shocking to me. So anything you can do, if you can donate a little bit, currently just looking at the link for the St. Baldrick's donation, it looks like they're only at $76. So I challenge our listeners, let's try to double that by the by Monday. Let's see if we can't get in there and donate and double that by Monday. I mean, that's not really hard, and hopefully we can help them achieve their goal too of $1,000. I mean, I know there's plenty of people out there listening that have a little bit they can donate. So
We had a good
help us out.
question brought up by Jabin Nix01. Sorry, my text is kind of small here. If there'll be any donations at the tailgate, we'll find out and we can tweet that out. And I'm sure, and Dwayne's always at the tailgate, and I'm sure that's something we can get tweeted out. But yeah, you know, we go to the games and you know we buy swag and buy a beer or two and get our Starbucks in the morning, drop $5 for a charity, you know, whatever, everything adds up. Okay. So don't think that a little contribution's not a contribution, because it is, and it does go a long way. So something that we can all be proud of being a part of. Glenn.
Sorry, I misspoke. It's 4% of the national funding for pediatric cancer research.
Still
So
not,
it's still not.
It's not very good. It's still not very good
Right.
at all. Yeah.
So let's get
That's
behind
pretty-
this. Let's get behind this and really make a difference with this fundraiser. Very, very excited about getting that money raised. So we're going to wrap up today's show. We have a fun weekend ahead of us. Another, here comes the double headers, right? Racing and Louisville City back to back. An exciting weekend coming up, and I hope everybody has a fabulous week. Closing thoughts from you, Matt.
Come find us at the Whirling Tiger before matches. Buy us beers, please. That's my closing thoughts.
And what if they buy you a beer, Matt? Will you match that to the charity?
Yeah, sure. Why not?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I'm spending Matt's money.
I'll drink for charity.
Yeah, drink for charity. Glenn,
I've been drinking for nothing this whole time, so yeah.
Glenn, your closing thoughts today. Are you excited about a soccer being back in Louisville? Excited about the weekend coming up?
Wait, who's not excited about soccer? Like, that was amazing. It was great to see everybody. I missed you guys all season. I felt like this was the longest off season because I feel like everything was kind of coming back to almost a normalcy, right? Like, we're getting back after a COVID and everything's coming back. I'm excited to see all your beautiful faces and hug all of you. If you're not ready for a hug, just let me know and I will not hug you. But I'm very excited to see everybody. Also, if you come to that, I do really want to hug you. But if you come to the Whirling Tiger, maybe you can get one of these awesome buttons we got.
Yeah.
These made and we got these cool stickers. And I'll tell you what, if you're gonna donate and you send me a message on the Twitters, send us a DM on Twitters or Facebook, and let us know you've donated to the charity. We'll save a button and a sticker for you.
Hey, I like that.
So
that's cool.
Those things are exclusive. I don't even have one. So
that's true. None of us have them except Glenn.
I have one.
Just game. Well, cool guys. This has been fun. Great episode today. We are so excited that soccer is back and going, and every weekend at home is going to be a lot of fun. And I'm looking forward to another round, and we hope you enjoyed today's episode. I'm John Harper for Matt Dalton and Glenn Grum. We will see you next week, Purple Family. Have a good night and keep it purple. Bye-bye.